When people hear the name Kosovo, many still immediately associate it with war, instability, and danger. For a long time, that was almost the only story told about this small Balkan territory. Yet arriving there today reveals a very different reality. Since declaring independence in 2008, Kosovo has become the youngest country in Europe, and traveling there today is generally calm and straightforward. Because it remains outside the main tourist routes, visitors often experience something increasingly rare in Europe, a place that still feels genuine and relatively undiscovered. My first impression came when I arrived in Pristina, the capital. Walking through the streets, the contrasts were striking. Some avenues are modern, lined with cafes where young people gather for long conversations. While other areas still show traces of a turbulent past. The city feels like a meeting point between different eras. New buildings rise next to older structures, creating an atmosphere that reflects both change and memory. One thing that quickly stands out is how young the population is. Kosovo has one of the youngest populations in Europe. In the city center, it is common to see students walking between universities, groups of friends chatting in cafes, and families enjoying the evening in pedestrian streets. This youthful energy shapes the atmosphere of the city. Many women, for example, take great care with their appearance. It is common to see carefully styled outfits, elegant clothing, and attention to detail in makeup and fashion. In a place marked by complex history, this everyday sense of style gives the streets a surprisingly modern feeling. If you enjoy discovering lesser-known places like this, remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video. The goal here is to explore destinations that rarely appear in typical travel guides and to share stories gathered directly on location. To understand Kosovo today, it helps to look briefly at its past. For several centuries, the region was part of the Ottoman Empire. Later, it became part of Serbia and eventually of Yugoslavia. Kosovo had a degree of autonomy, but in 1989, Serbian leader Slobodan Milosevic revoked that autonomy, which significantly increased tensions between communities. The situation escalated into the Kosovo War of 1998 to 1999. A conflict between Serbian forces and the Kosovo Liberation Army. The war ended after intervention by NATO, and the territory was administered internationally until independence in 2008. Even today, small reminders of that history can still be seen. Occasionally, military vehicles or international peacekeeping soldiers appear in certain areas of Pristina. For visitors, however, this does not generally affect daily life or tourism. In practice, the city feels relaxed and safe, with lively cafes, busy streets, and a strong sense of normal everyday life. Kosovo's population is predominantly Albanian, roughly 9 out of 10 residents. The Serbian minority represents less than 1/10 of the population, alongside smaller Turkish, Bosniak, Roma, and Croatian communities. During my travels around the country, I also noticed that some Kosovars show slightly more Slavic facial features compared with people in neighboring Albania. After centuries of coexistence between different peoples in the same regions, cultural and physical mixing is not surprising. Back in Pristina, the architectural contrasts become even clearer during a simple walk. Modern commercial buildings sit beside older structures. One of the city's most recognizable landmarks is the National Library of Kosovo, famous for its unusual design covered with metal domes and lattice structures. Another important historical site nearby is the Great Kanica Monastery, which represents the Serbian Orthodox heritage of the region. Daily life in Kosovo can also be surprisingly affordable. Local bakeries still sell bread at prices that feel almost forgotten in Western Europe. Roughly 1 kilogram of bread can cost around €1. Simple traditional foods such as burek, a pastry filled with meat or cheese, remain staples of everyday cuisine and can be found in nearly every neighborhood. Economically, Kosovo remains one of Europe's poorer countries. Salaries are relatively low, and many young people look for opportunities abroad. As a result, a large part of the economy depends on money sent home by Kosovars living in countries such as Germany, Switzerland, and the United States. Because of this economic situation, the cost of living is far lower than in Western European cities like Paris or Madrid. Renting an apartment in Pristina, for example, can cost several times less than in those capitals. From a practical point of view, the country also has a few interesting aspects. The real estate market remains accessible, internal transport is simple, and distances between cities are short. Interestingly, Kosovo uses the euro, even though the country is not officially part of either the European Union or the Eurozone. Travel inside Kosovo is usually done by bus or car, and journeys between cities rarely take long. Beyond the capital, the country also offers impressive natural landscapes. Mountains, valleys, and high plateaus cover much of the territory. Regions such as Rugova Valley and historic towns like Prizren or Peja reveal a quieter side of the country where nature and history are closely connected. Another interesting observation is how integrated technology is in everyday life. Despite economic challenges, many young Kosovars use smartphones, social networks, and digital tools with remarkable ease. In cafes, strong Wi-Fi connections are common, and it is not unusual to see people studying, working remotely, or managing online businesses from their laptops. The healthcare system in Kosovo is still developing, and some residents who can afford it choose medical treatment in other European countries. Nevertheless, daily life tends to feel peaceful. Social life revolves heavily around cafes and restaurants, which are constantly full of conversation and activity. Of course, some challenges remain. In the northern part of the country, relations with Serbia are still politically sensitive, because Serbia does not recognize Kosovo's independence. This occasionally creates tension in certain border areas. For travelers, there can also be administrative complications when crossing directly from Kosovo into Serbia if they initially entered Kosovo from another country. However, for visitors exploring cities like Pristina, Prizren, or Peja, the general atmosphere is calm. What travelers often discover is a country full of contrasts between past and present, tradition and modernity, challenges and optimism. From my personal experience, visiting Kosovo was a fascinating mix of cultural observation, recent history, and everyday life. It is not a typical European tourist destination, and that is exactly what makes it interesting. For travelers who enjoy discovering places that remain outside the mainstream routes, Kosovo offers a perspective on Europe that many people rarely see. If you enjoy this kind of journey, learning about cultures, comparing lifestyles, and hearing real stories directly from the ground, feel free to explore more videos on the channel. New destinations and lesser-known corners of the world are always waiting to be discovered.